Record.
We are live.
We're live.
Live and
Go.
direct.
Right.
Welcome. Greetings and salutations.
What's up, everybody? It's DMAC.
Jesse, what's going on?
And I'm Louie. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight is going to be episode 20.3, V3, however you wanna take it. Tonight we're talking a little bit about the Titanic. For those of you who aren't familiar, it was flagship, giant ship, cruise liner, sank off the coast of North America many moons ago. And tonight we're going to discuss what happened. And then we're going to discuss what actually happened.
Yeah, we got a bunch of different little theories here for sure.
Little itty bitty theories.
It can't just
So-
be what the newspaper said back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Never. All right. But before we get too deep, please follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. If you don't follow us on Twitch, we are trying to become Twitch affiliates, which means we need people watching us. It doesn't even take that many. It's like, what, 3 people?
Four
Three people
people.
watching us on a regular basis. And 100 subscribers. We have 22 subscribers on Twitch. Those are rookie numbers. We got to bump those numbers up. So we're going to enlist your help. Tell your friends, tell your wives, tell your husbands,
Yeah, the kids.
tell everybody up in here.
Oh yeah. Smash that
also-
fucking ad button.
Yes, please. We have a TikTok. D-Matt has been kind enough to make shorts and run that for us. Jesse's been helping him.
Not
It's
really,
good
but
stuff.
schmidgen help.
Yeah.
Just a schmidgen.
Every little bit, right?
Every little
And
bit.
if you have any comments for us, hit us on the socials or at our email, thewisemen@gmail.com. DUHWHYSMEN@gmail.com.
Oh yeah.
Stevie.
All right, so we're gonna get into it. For those that don't really have any understanding what the Titanic is, it was one of the most catastrophic,
Catastrophic.
catastrophic. Sorry,
Holy moly.
I haven't even
Go
drank.
back. Cool.
I should have let you struggle a little more. Would've been
Yeah,
funnier.
you should have. It was a huge disaster, one of the biggest ones we've had in the entire world when it has to deal with like a passenger cruise line or a boat. But the Titanic, which it's known, for the deadliest sinking ship of all time. The RMS Titanic was known for its advanced innovation and its luxurious structure and awesome architecture. It was kind of like one of the pieces of its time, and it was, I think it was British. It was a British passenger liner, which was operated by a huge company in the world at that time called the White Star Line or liner or whatever.
Yeah.
And this ship ultimately met its demise in the North Atlantic Sea, and this took place. Its actual sinking, full sinking, took place on April 15th, 1912. But it started its sinking at around 11:30 or 11:40 on the 14th, and it kind of just sank throughout midnight. And the official story is that this Titanic was moving. Not only was it moving at full speed, but it struck an iceberg and made impact on the front part of the ship, which is known as the bow. And it took about 2 hours and 30 minutes or so to fully sink. So that's kind of fast. I mean, it's slow, but it's fast. And
Imagine how many more people would have died had that sucker just like
Oh, swoop. I know it.
You know?
Like, and so to kind of like, get into the mood of tonight's episode, me and my family, we ate dinner, we watched the Titanic, and it's like we were watching the movie, everyone was kind of like, as the boat is sinking, everyone's kind of staying calm and chill, and then you
Yeah.
had your group of people that were, like, no, dude, this is not time to chill. This isn't time to play a violin and, you know, be okay. Like, there's only fucking 20 lifeboats, and it only fits a third of, if that, of the passengers that were on the ship. I mean,
Right.
the boat wasn't at full capacity.
Right.
The boat had, got it right here. So the boat held 2,224 souls on board that night, and there was 1,500 passengers that ended up dying. And the interesting thing about this incident is that they were supposed to have 48 lifeboats on the ship, and they decided not to meet that amount of, or that full capacity, because there was a lot of things that this ship met, and a lot of that was like maritime sea regulations and stuff like that. And so they didn't have 48 lifeboats that night, they only had 20. And
Let me add to this real quick. I forgot the guy's name, like Andrew Newton or something. He studied this whole this whole event, and he was saying that at first they were sending people on these lifeboats like half capacity. Like the lifeboats weren't even fully full themselves. It seemed like they were expecting someone to come and save them.
right, and they did a bunch of numbers and everything after they got all the analytics from the incident, and it was an average of 60% where each lifeboat was at capacity. So just a little bit over than half, which is kind of crazy,
Doesn't make sense.
You don't want your legs to be cramped while being rescued.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, but the ship, said its maiden voyage from Southampton, England, New York City, and the United States. And this boat, just to kind of give you an idea of the clientele that was on there, it wasn't, your normal average Carnival cruise type people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were tiers to this boat. I believe they were kind of segmented into like classes. So you had first class, second class, third class. And first class obviously were like your world elites, your very wealthy, most powerful people. And, second class was just a grade under that, and third class was, for the most part, immigrants at that time. And so watching the Titanic today put so much in perspective, kind of. And I know it's just a movie, and I know Hollywood made it and everything, but the little things that they put in that movie kind of blew me away, because it has a lot to do with the theories that we're going to talk about tonight. But like, you had super rich people on there, people like the Astor, Jacob Astor. You had other people who were super into politics. You had Benjamin Guggenheim, I think or Guggenheim or something like that. You had Isidore Strauss. You basically had a lot of people. A lot of people, but a lot of people that were like mostly powerful in Europe at that time. And like, we know that Europe at that time had a huge grip around the world. I would say that maybe they were one of the strongest empires, right? Going on at that time. And I found it interesting that the first build of the look of this ship was the Olympic. And the Olympic, when it's all based off of Greek mythology. these names. So Olympics are the
That was
what
the
do you
class of ship.
yes. So it was the best of the best, right? The Olympic was the top-notch ship, and the Titanic was a sister ship. It was copied. Most of it was copied, replicated after the Olympic. And the funny thing is that what do you call it in Greek mythology? You might be able to help me out, Louis or Jesse. What are they? Primordial gods or something? There's
Demigods?
or no, there's levels. So
Well,
the
so
Olymp
the Titans came before the Olympians.
so I thought it was the other way around. I thought the
No,
Olympian. No. Oh, okay.
the
I swore I
Olympians
saw
were
something like that.
were
Oh,
the Greek pantheon of gods that we know of as Zeus and Hera and those. The Titans were
Right.
before them.
And they were much
The
larger, right?
and technically like Zeus, Poseidon, and was it Hades? It wasn't Hades. What was their brothers? Zeus, Poseidon, and there's one more. The three of them were technically Titans as well, but they defeated their father Kronos, and that's
mhm.
how they became the rulers. We're anyway, rabbit hole. You were
Yeah.
saying?
But so a lot of the naming was back, and it relates to the Greek mythology. And so anyways, we'll go back to the ship and everything like that. So on April 14th at 11:40, the ship was moving at high speeds, and a lot of witnesses said that that it was at full speed, and that it collided into an iceberg. There's different theories of to what the people thought they saw. Some people even said that they didn't necessarily see an iceberg. There's a thing that's called low level pack ice, which is like I think something that most of the time icebreakers would go through. But a lot of the witnesses were talking about that they kind of saw a haze out in the distance. But you can easily compare that to low level um, ice packing. It could look like a haze in the distance, but so they struck the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. and like I said earlier, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink. There were only 20 lifeboats on board, and there were 16 lifeboat davits. I think that's what you call it, which is like what allows you to lower the lifeboats down in the water. And these davits they had the capability of lowering 3 boats in each davit, and you do 16 times 3, and I believe that gives you 48. And so they only had 20 on board that night. Kind of sketch. If you wanted to sink a boat, I could see that, or if you wanted to kill people on the boat specifically and cover it up as a disaster,
Yeah.
I could
Then it's just negligence.
Yeah, exactly, right? But what's his name? The guy that the guys that made the boat, the designers of the boat, they said that which they ended up dying on the boat that night too. They said that they did not have the 48 lifeboats on the boats so that they can open up the walkways. I forget what the actual term is. But it would open up and make it look much more presentable, much more luxurious. It wouldn't just be like small walkways on the outsides of the boat. So that kind of sounds bullshit to me. I don't know. And
A
it was
pretty big
it
boat.
was overruled because the guy that designed the boat, he wasn't for it. He did not advocate for not having the proper amount of lifeboats on there, and he was overruled. Now, the company that constructed this boat, White Star Line, this goes all the way back to when you go through the trail, it goes back to J.P. Morgan. So J.P. Morgan was kind of in a way the owner of the boat in itself. He was super involved in this company, and one of the richest men in the world at that time. And the captain of the boat was Edward Smith, who had a lot of experience, and the thing that I found interesting about the lifeboat situation is that I gotta get my phone here, get my calculator. So the max capacity for the boat, or just full capacity of the boat, was 3,534 people. Okay, but the boat was not at full capacity when it was set sail, in a way, and there was only 2,224 souls on board. When you take 3,534, right, its full capacity, and you divide that by 3, right, and we all know 1/3 gives you 33, right? It gives you the exact number of what the capacity would be of having 20 lifeboats on the boat. So 20 lifeboats were supposed to hold 1,178 people. That's exactly 1/3 of the full capacity of the boat. And if you're setting sail, I mean, they even called this ship, like the unsinkable ship, the ship that, the iron something or whatever, but its motto was to never be able to sink. And I just found that interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And like I said, JP Morgan, one of the richest men at that time in the world, he was supposed to be on the boat that day and did not go on that day. He didn't. He last minute withdrawed from supposed to be on the boat. And
Right.
so did
Yeah, that's wild.
so did a whole lot of other people.
Bum, bum.
Right. It's kind of like, I forget the guy's name, and I'm not making any claims here, but this is just 100% fact. Is that the man who owns the World Trade Centers, showed up to work, or showed up, to breakfast in the World Trade Centers every day, and the day of 9/11 he did not show up. And
yeah, can I just say that the same, and I met a guy. I worked for a guy that was the CEO of this insurance company. He was the CEO of the same insurance company that insured the Hindenburg, the World Trade Centers, the Titanic, like a lot of these. It's all the same insurance company. So that's another very just boggling. Yeah, you'll have to look up and fact check me on that one real quick, but
I wonder how much they got paid to make payouts, if you know what I mean.
Well, the Titanic, and back then during this time, there's a lot of fraud. They got away with a lot of stuff, and it said that the Titanic was overly insured. Everything was overly insured, and so like I said, you'll have to fact check me on that. What company it was, if that's true. That's mind boggling.
Nah.
So the cost of the boat was also $1.5 million back in that day, and the builder who constructed it was, I finally found his name here in my scratch notes, Hardland and Wolff Belfast. So these guys were the creators and designers, the architects behind the construction of the ship. And I believe one of the Belfast guys went down with the ship. I'm pretty sure about that.
One of our people says they were actually on the chat here. Mark says, I was actually on the Titanic. Fact check me on that. Interesting.
Nice. So, what do you guys think happened that night? Do you think the official story is that, the Titanic actually struck an iceberg that night, or do you think this was a huge uh fabricated, constructed assassination of certain people that were on this boat? Or do you think that,
So
what
what
other
makes
theories do you
you
guys?
so what makes you think it was like be specific? What makes you think it was an assassination? Who died? And why do you think it was an assassination?
I think that the people on board had a lot of significant meaning, especially, in politics, in, certain policies that were starting to get developed around the world, and especially for the United States. I think that this was a setup to, in a way, not necessarily, how do I say this? So at that time, Jacob Astor, who's a part of one of the greatest elite families of all time, if not at that time one of the wealthiest families, had a huge impact around the world. He owned basically, over 40. He basically owned over 40% of the debt that the banks, accumulated. So he owned over 40% of basically interest that was coming in. And, at that time,
He wasn't well liked.
yeah, he wasn't well liked. And I think, I don't know if he was a good guy, though. I don't know if he was a bad guy. My thing
He
with
doesn't sound
him,
like a good guy.
well, the thing is I compare it. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know really, but it's kind of like, Princess Diana being a part of
Oh yeah.
what we think of an evil family or an elite
Mm.
family, part of, people running the world, which, that's kind of true. She necessarily had different views and political views, and she kind of was like an opposition, to the agenda of where the family kind of maybe wanted to go. I can kind of relate, Jacob Astor to maybe falling into the same shoes. And I say this because, at that time, there was a lot of talk about getting a central bank in the United States. And that central bank is what we know as today as the Federal Reserve. And so there was a lot of discussion in 1911, 1912 about getting the Federal Reserve to be a part of the United States of America Corporation, and to get it, to let it be, a central bank in America. And what I found funny is that, especially watching the movie The Titanic, right? There's a scene in the movie where Leonardo DiCaprio is taking Rose, right? And everyone, if you've seen the movie, you definitely get where I'm getting at. Rose invites him to go to an elite ball, right? So the first class ball, pretty much. And so when they're walking around the ball and Rose is introducing Leonardo DiCaprio to a bunch of, different elites, she goes, "Oh, here's Jacob Astor, one of the richest men in the entire world," right?
That's in the movie?
That's in the movie. I never even
Oh,
noticed
wow.
this. Yeah, it's in the movie.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, holy shit. Yes, I live with my mother." Listen.
Yes, I love how you emphasize that every episode now. I live
know.
with my mother.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, okay, very interesting." And then so I started paying attention to that scene, and I was like, "Okay." And this is how I'm thinking too. I'm like, "Okay, who are they going to walk up to and introduce, and to have them be a part of the movie?" This is kind of like so subliminal in a way,
Oh yeah.
And so what do you know? They went by and they Rose brings Leonardo DiCaprio up to another guy and says, "This is Benjamin Guggenheim. This is another guy who was opposed to the Federal
Guggenheim.
Reserve. Guggenheim. This is another guy. This is another guy that was opposed to the Federal Reserve along with Astor, and there was another guy, Isidore Straus, who was also opposed to the Federal Reserve, and the people that weren't on the ship, the people that decided not to go, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the J.P. Morgan, the other people that were in competition with Astor, they weren't on there that day. That's kind of weird. It's a hell of a coincidence. And, maybe they were rivals. Maybe they didn't like each other. Maybe they knew that, maybe they wanted Astor's money. Maybe they wanted his assets. Maybe they wanted his wealth. And so the only way to do that without starting an entire war, probably, because these guys could have probably shot Astor in the back of the head. Okay, he drops his 40%, of his banking capacity, and then they will naturally inherit it. So why don't we just, decide to cover it up with the sinking of a beautiful ship?
They're still gonna have to shoot him in the back of the head, though. Like the ship is sinking, and if your theory is true, there was assassins on board, and they were killing people.
I mean,
people don't just
I wouldn't doubt it.
People don't just drown. If you're gonna plan to assassinate somebody by sinking a big ass ship, you better have people on board to kill them, and then of course blame it on the sinking ship.
I mean, there's other theories,
that's pretty good. I mean, because there's reports that his pregnant wife did make it onto a life raft, and I can't imagine that she wouldn't have gotten on right away without him being like, "Get on this fucking ship or get off this."
It honestly,
get on this boat.
Yeah. I think that would be the case if they were doing that. It reminds me of the Lincoln assassination, because there was tons of assassins involved with that too, that people don't know about.
Potentially, he did get assassinated. She knew he was dead, and she's like, "Well, he's fucking dead, so I better get off this ship right now."
Yeah, right. Jeez.
Because Guggenheim and his wife both died, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. I can see that. I agree with that. Creepy.
So, and when okay, the ship goes down, all these men die. The following year, 1913, we had the what was it? What is it? The Federal Reserve Act, or we basically had the passing of the Federal Reserve banking system in the United States, and this took place on Jekyll Island, which is a small island off the coast of Georgia. And it was hosted at the Rothschilds' home. And I'm sorry, not the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers' home. And so if you can
December 23rd, 1913.
Right.
So, and then the ship sank 1912.
1912, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So what you had is what we kind of call nowadays like the greatest transfer of wealth, overnight.
Like during COVID.
Yeah, kind of. And you had and you had all these other bankers starting to incorporate, and inherit basically all the assets that Astor had. I mean, someone's got to take them, right? Someone's got to take them over. And so you had people like J.P. Morgan, you had Henry Davison, Frank Vanderlip, Paul Warburg, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and all these people would got together, and they made this decision and this policy, on this island. And the crazy thing is that the Rockefellers' home on Jekyll Island is built on top of an ancient Tamuka tribe sacrificial temple, which is kind of gnarly. I don't know what to think of it, but it seems pretty evil to me. And you know, there was a lot of people wondering, you know, like, why didn't you just kind of dig it up, or why hey, why don't you just place your house over here, huh? No, is that not? But
Yeah.
nah, we're gonna build it right on top of where the actual temple was.
There's a lot of people that do that, right? Like that. There's a lot of organizations and organizations that have built on top of shit like that, right? Like the Vatican and
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of you know, things like that. Um, I don't know exactly other examples, but you know, I wouldn't doubt it. To me, it kind of is like an essence of like maybe it gives them energy, or like it gives them some sort of like honor or something like that. I don't know, because I personally believe that, you know, these elites, that they're not really all for, you know, all the good things necessarily. Um,
you
and
know,
it's
of course they're greedy, you
Yeah.
know.
And it's like watching the Titanic movie, you could see how like we are really peasants to these freaking people, bro. Like we literally are the gum on the bottom of their fucking shoes, dude. Like I I I wouldn't doubt it, you know. I don't know.
In reality, like I look at a lot of you know wealthy people, and I think I was talking to you about this the other day. These people, they just rely so much on their money to take care of them. And it's like, to me, you're beneath my feet if you're just solely relying on everybody to do everything for you. Just you're using your money, you're throwing your money around. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I'm getting kind of off
Yeah.
topic with that, but yeah. Anyways, rich people, they're greedy.
Yeah. So there's other theories other than, you know, which I'm 5 bananas here on, you know, this theory in particular. Um,
So you're
I,
not really sold.
no,
You should
I always
explain
get
the bananas
confused.
real quick.
Yeah, I get confused with the bananas. Basically, I'm all
It's
in
easy
on
to
this
eat.
theory.
Oh
I
no, so 5 bananas would be like too much. So it's like, is it easy to swallow this
okay, that's
theory?
right. That's right.
So if
Well,
it's
I
easy
like
for you to
bananas
swallow
too,
five
so like when
bananas,
I'll eat 5 bananas.
brother, if it's easy for you to swallow 5 bananas, you need to come out of the closet right now, bro. You need to just come
Yeah.
clean. You need to come clean right now, bro.
It's two bananas, as in TOO. Too
Yeah.
many bananas.
Too many bananas, right? Yeah. So it'd be like half a banana would be like, yeah, you're like, okay, that's easy to eat a half a banana.
But I didn't think of it. I didn't think of the assassination kind of theory with this, which is it's leading.
Really? You never
It's very
thought of that?
leading. I mean, yeah, you know, m-
You're just expecting them to
sure.
just die in the water?
No, I mean, well, because it made me think of, you know, the first people that got on the boats were women and children, primarily. Which,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, how the hell wouldn't the richest guy in the world just jump on one of these boats and take all these elites off, you know, or whatever? But
Right. They weren't suspecting it, and that's where your theory does make sense. But at the same time, you can't just expect. So you know the part of the theory about all the boats that were surrounding them,
is this
and kind
about
of
like, no,
the
no.
Californian. So there's a boat that was like 19 miles away, the Californian, and the theory is that this was all set up, and it wasn't the Titanic, it was actually the Olympic, right? Am I saying that right? The Olympic or
Yeah,
Yes.
That's
Olympic. Mhm.
okay. So the sister boat's the Olympic. So the theory is that it was actually the Olympic, and that this is the insurance deal. So the Olympic was hit by a military boat in the side, a smaller military boat, and it damaged the hull. It damaged the propeller, damaged a lot of things, and they the Titanic wasn't ready yet, I believe, and the Olympic had already been built and that was ready to go. So, but it was damaged. So what they did was they did a little quick patch repair and they sent it out and they sank that shit for insurance money, right? That's like that theory. But there
Right.
was, and this is the reason why like all the boats make sense, that they were only sending people out in 60% capacity on the lifeboats, because they were expecting the Californian the California was on standby, ready to come pick them up, but they didn't get any of the signals because they were positioned improperly. They were in the wrong position. And there was actually 3 other boats that were closer around them, but they were all. So the Titanic, when it was sinking, it was shooting up distress signals, the fireworks, pretty
Right.
much, right?
Well,
Rockets.
specifically white flares, right?
White,
think-
red, and blue flares.
Okay.
So I think white flares is just like you'd have to look it up what it means, white, red, and blue. But there was other boats around them that were seeing the flares, but they couldn't make out. So the California was on the side, and they were only seeing white flares from a boat. And the theory is that those flares that they were actually seeing from that boat was a legal fisherman that was illegally fishing. So, and that boat was actually close enough to the Titanic to where they could see the Titanic's flares, but they weren't going to go help them. And this is all on logs, like this is all written down. So they know that the illegal fisherman was looking at the Titanic going, I'm not going to go over there and check that out. I'm illegally fishing right now. So yeah, it's interesting.
I
I
think,
could believe that. That makes more sense to me about it being the Olympic because it is documented. It did get hit, and there's pictures before the Titanic took off that there's 16 portholes in the boat that was taking off, and there was only 14 portholes in the Titanic, and Olympic had 16. So there's all this, and it was remodeled before it took off. It makes a lot more sense, and at the same time, it's like 2-3 birds with one stone. You kill your adversaries. You get your money back on your damaged boat that you didn't want to pay to fix properly because it took too long. You're getting all this in one. J.P. Morgan's an evil son of a bitch.
Well, he ended up moving after this. I think he ended up developing General Electric and all.
Oh wow, he developed that after this.
He's a huge part of the reason why General Electric,
right.
I believe. And
stealing Nikola Tesla's shit.
What's funny is like you think of the Federal Reserve
Tesla for a lot of it.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
And
then I'm pretty sure he probably had him killed at the end of his life too. And then the FBI came in. Trump's uncle came in and took all his fucking Nikola Tesla's paperwork. That's an interesting story too.
Yeah. So I think the white flares, like the distress, when you were talking about the flares, I think white flares means to draw attention, and I think red means that distress, you're in distress and that you need people to come to your safety.
And what's blue mean? So blue means something too, because they were doing all of them. This is the reports. They were doing all red, white, and blue.
They just thought they were having a party.
Yeah, they were probably like, oh, they're just, they're over there drinking, shooting off fireworks. Off fireworks, jumping off the side of the boat, having fun.
But so you get the sinking of the Titanic, you get the passing of the Federal Reserve, and then in 1914 you have World War I. Bam. Which at itself, especially when these guys were a part of General Electric, I think they had a lot to do with. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other corporations, but maybe this was like the beginning of the military industrial complex. It was they're just now they have basically a printing system for money, and then I was thinking, like, okay, so that makes sense for the Federal Reserve.
Oh God, yeah.
To a reason why to push it so hard, and then you have World War II, which then that started the federal income tax. So now it's just a money making business. It's almost like a banking cartel.
Right.
I think this is probably just the continuation of it. I'm looking up when the Banana Wars were, which was wars in South America.
Banana.
The United States had been fighting in, and 1898. Yeah, so like we had guys financing that, and basically we just went down there, took over shit, made a bunch of money, like the JP Morgans and stuff like that.
Have you guys
And that,
ever? Oh, sorry, buddy.
yeah. So I think there's just a continuation of starting wars
for
and problems
profit.
for profit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think they realized at one point around all this, the early 1900s, late 1800s, that it was profitable, that they could start a war, play both sides, play both positions, and then their manufacturers are making all the boots, they're making all the engines, making all the tanks, making all the jeeps, making all the guns, and that's all their
Right.
money. So
Right.
they're raking this in, and now they're getting good at it. World War One, and then World War Two comes around, and they've mastered this. And now these days, look where we're at now. It's like,
Dude, so it's funny you just said
cats come
they're
out of the bag.
it's funny you just said that where they're masters. So like what I gotta go back to the movie. Titanic, right? So when they're in the first class ball and it's basically like the captain's dinner if you've ever been on a cruise. This is what was going on the Titanic. And you know, they're all having fun and they're all talking at the dinner table and it's funny like seeing these actors act, out these super important people back in the day. And so all the men kind of get up and they're all kind of like, all right, boys, it's time to go and get, time for cigars and drinks and all this kind of stuff.
Blowies from the Hoors.
Right. And so they said to the ladies, you guys stay here, and Rose basically looks at Leonardo DiCaprio and is like, hey, if you want to go with them, this is the guy time. And so she makes a comment, dude, and I had to write it down. She makes a comment. She goes, oh, you don't want to go? They left to go be the masters of the universe. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and then another lady was like, yeah, they're going to go talk about politics and all this other stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay. Hollywood slipped that one in there, dude. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
Oh yeah.
I get it. That's kind of interesting.
I have to go watch that.
I'm telling you, when you rewatch the movie after knowing this, you'll start to pick up on little things.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, you'll start to pick up on all kinds of little things.
It's funny. Dude. It's funny when you brought up her introducing that millionaire earlier, the wealthy guy. What's his name? Aster. Yeah. I remember that right when you said that. I haven't seen the movie in years. I remember her introducing. It was like they purposely, like, and he wasn't a character in the movie, right? He didn't have any lines, really, right?
No, he did talk a little bit, but it was more of like an introduction. Yeah,
it's just that. But I remember that moment. It's like they put that in there for a reason.
They put that in there purposely. Come on, man.
And you can say, it's historical purposes. It was a man that was actually on the boat. He died, right? He died on the.
He died, yeah.
And then you said his pregnant wife got out?
According to historical record, yes.
Okay. So I wonder where they ended up, his kid and her.
It's funny, dude, that whole scene right there, I watched it like 3 different times. And when in the beginning of that scene when they're entering into the ball, Rose's friend or something says, to Leo or something like that, like, oh, look, now you're a part of the club or something like that. And I'm just like, okay, they're putting little things in here, little notes, and it's kind of funny. I'm like, these fucking guys, they're speaking the truth right in front of everybody.
Yeah. That's the conspiracy, right? Hollywood puts it right in front of your face. They tell you the truth.
The older we get, the more we see, right? We start noticing these things.
It's crazy.
Damn, we were so dumb. How did we not know this stuff?
I know it. I know it.
Like, if you ask a normal person, not someone like the three of us, they're never gonna notice it either.
No. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, let me look into the European area over there, because I still do think like the crown does exist, and I do think like the crown has a lot of power like around the world. And so
right, of course,
going back and looking it up, I'm gonna see what you guys think of this. So have you ever heard of the Committee of 300?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not
No.
too familiar with it, but I have.
You
Yeah.
never heard of this? Okay. So the committee
Right.
of this, I
Looking it up right now.
want to know what you guys think of
Go
this. So the committee of 300, also known as the Olympians,
Mm.
claims to be a powerful group founded by the British aristocracy in 1727 and rules the world. Proponents of the theory alleging the committee's existence believe it to be an international council that organizes politics, commerce, banking, media, and military for centralized global efforts. And so
What year did you say that was founded?
1727. This was found this was
1727.
all
Before America.
this was all presented
Before this shit.
by a German politician called Walther Rathenau or something like that. And it was he posted it in a 1909 article called Neuen Friespress. I'm not German, so please forgive my pronunciation.
So what this immediately brings to mind, I brought up the Wikipedia, which I realized that's what you were reading from.
Yeah.
So started in 1727, founded by a British aristocracy, but like just right off the top of my head, this immediately makes me think of Bohemian Grove.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, before the Bohemian Grove, they were called the Bohemian Club.
Right.
They were first the Bohemian Club out of San Francisco, but it obviously has its traces back to, probably Europe. And what I found it funny is that they were also known as the Olympians, and the first ship was called the Olympic. So
yeah.
I have a theory here, and this is kind of like going way over the top. But
you know what else they called them?
What?
300 Elders of Zion.
Oh, that is hitting
it.
it. That's hitting it on a head.
Which I personally
on a
think
nail right there.
the Elders of Zion thing is bullshit personally, but
I think a lot of that. I think a lot of the Zion stuff is true, but I think that's one thing that these elites are good at. They're good at scrambling information and making you second guess everything.
Yeah.
But
so in the article that Walther Rathenu or whatever, he mentions that these are 300 men, all of whom know one another, guide the economic destinies of the continent, and seek their successors for their own milieu. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Fuck, stupid. But it's just a bunch of oligarchies, like Louis says, it kind of like relates to the Elders of Zion and stuff. Which I do think there's a lot of truth to that, but then again, every squirrel finds a nut, you know what I'm saying? So
a lot of nuts.
Kind of interesting. Oh, so back to like my theory. And I want to get your take on this. So what if there was a war, an unseen war, right? Between, and this is not like a physical war, but what if there was an unseen war between these banking elites, and it was a war for power? It was a war for greed. It was a war for who wants the bag. Okay. And taking out these people on this ship who were opposed to the Federal Reserve was a dire need for one side, right? And it's kind of like maybe they put it right in front of your face with the Greek mythology names. And it's kind of like what Louis said. And I just thought of this theory here, that what if it's how Louis said, the Titans versus the Olympians? And, this is kind of like the battle of the gods or whatever. And, they had to kill a motherfucker to take first place. They had to get rid of these men so that they can push their agenda so that they could be on top. And they just, they kind of fell into the money too, taking these guys out. Because I'm sure they had, shares in certain areas or whatever, and other things, assets that these guys owned, guys like Astor and the other people that, died on the ship. But maybe it was because there was a war for the banking system.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very plausible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's so funny about all of these theories about the Titanic. They all kind of fit together in one puzzle. It's one of the conspiracy theories that has multiple, but they all it's the same thing. They all fit together. They all make sense. Like
Yeah.
all the conspiracy theories could be, they could. It's just like it's weird. It's just weird.
So
Makes sense though.
what do you guys think of the wreckage? Do you think that it's controlled? Do you in a way to
Here we go.
like they only want certain people going down there to evaluate the wreckage and all this kind of stuff?
Oh yeah.
Even my wife even brought up to me, shout out to my wife, love you. She even said that, and Louis, let's fact check this. We're gonna put her on blast. So she said that there's a certain bacteria that's starting to grow on the ship that is technically eating away at the ship. And to me, it kind of sounds like a natural event that can occur, right? When you're 13,000 feet below sea level, or 13,000 feet deep in the ocean.
For
And
years and years and years and years.
yeah. But
over 100
all
years.
of a sudden there's a bacteria that's starting to eat away the ship. Maybe they planted some shit down there. Maybe they got to eat up the evidence, man. They got to destroy it.
Yeah,
It's
but
possible.
my
But also, how often do people go down there and check on the ship? So
yeah,
Right.
my
could
thing
be a
with that
naturally
is
occurring thing.
yeah, my thing with all that is if you're theorizing that they're trying to destroy the evidence, they could have dropped a bomb. They could have brought explosives down there and destroyed
Yeah.
all of it already.
Yeah, but you don't want to do things in daylight, right? You kind of want to do it at night. What I'm saying is like you drop a bomb down there, you're gonna
Bacteria eating the ship seems like a really long game to play.
It's a long game, yeah.
sure.
Because
Yeah.
no one's allowed down there to begin with. So like, who gives a fuck if it stays there?
Well,
Yeah, and
why
if
is
Try to
why
get
is
rid of
there
it, then
why
if
is
they
there
have direct
like
energy weapons, why don't they
accidentally drop
just
cargo on it?
open the bottom of the floor up and swallow that fucker?
Mhm.
I might have to switch computers. This one is moving super
Looking,
duper slow.
I'm looking it up right now, and it says it's called halophilic species of bacteria that was first isolated in 2010 from rusticles recovered from the wreck of the RMS Titanic.
rusticles?
Yeah.
The rust's testicles. Interesting. So 2011 they found this?
2010.
2010. Interesting.
And I think the whole Ocean Gate thing too, they're a part of them are owned and controlled by, I believe, Rothschilds, David D. Rothschilds,
BlackRock, all that shit too,
all that
right?
kind of stuff. And it makes me think that maybe the Ocean Gate scenario, puts a lot of fear and a lot of independent, deep sea corporations that are going down and doing deep sea exploration and all this kind of stuff. Because I'm assuming that there's a good amount of independent journalists and independent investigators that would like to go down and do their own thing down there.
Oh yeah. I'm sure they've tried too. I'm sure there's plenty that have tried.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure they have.
Scared of their fucking life, but yeah.
Yeah. I think it's James Cameron who holds the most deep sea submarine dives down there.
Correct.
Yeah. I think he's gone down there, 33 times too. I got to look that up. I think I heard that, but I found that interesting.
Doesn't he have like a crate of wine or something that came off of there?
Oh my gosh. That would be amazing.
I would drink that. I'd already drink it. just to say I drank it. Sorry, folks.
All right,
Crate of
so
wine. That's probably worth fucking $1 billion.
This is what it says. So, first of all, his submarine is called the Titan, which went,
Oh,
so the Titan submarine, which went missing on an expedition to view the Titanic shipwreck on. Oh no, so this is talking about the Ocean Gate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't.
yeah. So shortly after this, it says that he has made 33 dives to the Titanic wreckage site himself over the years.
33. That's
33.
a Masonic numerological number, specific
up there.
number.
And he doesn't have any more than 33.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay.
So, what's the significance of that number? Let's talk about that number just briefly.
Well, the
Why it's so
significance is it's the highest degree of Freemasonry that I guess you can reach to. I mean, maybe there's more that we don't know about, but
Well, it's numerology.
publicly we
Yes,
know that
so-
it's the highest degree that you could
Right.
reach as a Freemason.
I've heard there was higher or something like that too. But
Mhm.
numerology, there's numbers 1 through 9, like life path numbers, right? There's numbers 1 through 9. And then there's 11, 22, and 33. And they all are significant, but 33 is like the highest form of life that, you know.
Mhm.
So what was Jesus? Jesus died at 33? Is
He
that
died-
correct?
They say yes, but I've also read some things. He died 32 AD, which I don't know how old that would make him, but who knows? Anyways.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just a number that the elites like to use. That's a fact. 33 is a number that the elites tend to use. 11 is another number. It's a lot of numerology. The elites like to use numerology in these kinds of arts, these kinds of forms of stuff. It's
But
interesting.
what does the numerology do though? Is it like
It's just like anything else. You're dictating. You're telling. It's so it's just like astrology in a way. So you're able to tell the future. You're able to tell the past. You're able to control. 28. If you look, like 28 is a number that's used for wealth in numerology. And if you look at Rolex's advertisements, all their advertisements, the Rolex will be the number you'll see on the Rolex is going to be 28. So you fact check me on that one too. That's another interesting thing I saw. But yeah, it's that for whatever reason the elites like to use numerology. They believe there's power behind it, and that's why that number is significant. It's very interesting.
I can
All
believe
right,
that.
let's see here.
He's
New
like,
to
I'm looking.
numerology. Here's what you need to know.
Oh God, I've heard there's a lot of, yeah, I shouldn't say misinformation because I haven't looked too far into it, but I've heard a couple people talk about Googling numerology and getting the results that aren't real, that aren't true to numerology. Let's hear it though. What do you got? Let's listen.
What is numerology? It's a method of divination that uses numbers to symbolize the vibrational patterns which make up our human experience.
That's a broad statement.
Yeah, so simply put, numerology is a method of interpreting the numbers in your life so you can reveal personal insights about it. Who you are, who you will become, how you will personally achieve abundance, the challenges you will face in life, the personal strengths and how to use them to your advantage. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah.
And you got to ask yourself, why so like why
So
see
there's
and
schools of numerology too. Sorry.
right, yeah.
Pythagorean numerology, also known as Western numerology or modern numerology, claims lineage back going to Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher. Okay, then the Chaldean numerology, where people who ruled ancient Babylonia Chaldean numerology verifies its roots in antiquity
Ooh.
through cuneiform tablets dating back thousands of years.
Ooh, the cuneiform tablets again. Here are these cuneiform tablets. A lot of people don't believe in them, but there was thousands of them found, supposedly.
So the difference is here. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No. Go ahead.
These two systems. The Chaldean numerology is based on the vibration that a number represents even before it is spoken, while Pythagorean system consider each single digit in relation to the alphabetical letters in a strict linear sequence.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that the English language is actually the most advanced numerological language. And Hebrew was the first of its kind, I believe, and it is tied to numerology. I don't know too much about that, but that's what I've heard.
Well,
Also very interesting.
There's a version called Kabbalah numerology, which is what you just said. A fascinating strand of numerology is the Kabbalah system, which is based on the Hebrew alphabet.
Mm.
This is most mystical art and uses only the name. Usually one needs to be especially trained and or have studied extensively to understand the system and its number meanings.
Mm. Very
Seems like a
interesting.
whole lot of
I see a
stuff to get
very
wrong.
common denominator with all those things.
All right,
Numbers.
let's hear it.
I feel like it's all connected. Like all the religions or the pagan religions and everything's just kind of like got some sort of connection with all that stuff. Like the Kabbalists and you know, the Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Medo-Persian, all that kind of stuff. It's got so many things that, like, you know, they have in common. It's kind of like the whole like Nephilim story and the whole all that kind of stuff throughout all the ages. There's just similarities with all that
Right.
stuff.
It seems like it's all coming from one source and then just telephone gaming out, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so where were we at? You were talking about the 33. You got to 33.
33 dives by
Okay,
James
33
Cameron
dives
or
by
whatever.
James Cameron. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously that guy's a fucking billionaire, so he's a part of the elites too. So there's a reason, probably there's most likely a reason why he stopped at 33, because that's like the max life path number, right? That's the tippity top. Like, I've reached that. I'm just going to keep it there, hold it symbolic to numerology.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think
mean,
that works.
yeah. I think there's something that they like to do as far as going to something that's very tall and going to something that's very deep. It's kind of like reaching, well, a lot of like occultists and a lot of, you know,
you're talking about like flying to
mystery
Mars,
of all these
like going
things.
to Mars and going to the deepest part of the ocean.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, something like that. Like there's something about it. There's some sort of vibration that they receive, you know, trying to do these things or something. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like there's some sort of, I don't know if it's energy or
Purpose.
whatever. Yeah, some sort of purpose or some sort of understanding that I don't understand.
Who's that Virgin Atlantic billionaire dude, Richard
Oh, yep,
Branson?
yep,
Is that right?
yep, yep.
Has he ever done Submariner stuff?
Hmm.
Because we know he's been
He's been to the top, right? He's been to the
to the
stratosphere.
top.
And
Yeah,
then I'm
yep.
wondering if he's gone below. Well,
I think
so
I think he has. I
dude,
think I saw something.
I think James Cameron's also been to the Mariana Trench. I mean,
The fucking moon.
that's got to be deeper than
The Titanic, yeah,
12,000
probably.
feet, right? I mean, I think the Titanic's at
Oh,
12,000 feet.
oh, dude, yeah, the Mariana Trench is isn't it like 20,000 feet or something like that?
Yeah. Like
It's like
what the fuck are they doing naming this
3
shit?
miles or something?
But my thing is like it could just be a cool thing to
5
do.
miles.
I could totally agree that it could be a cool thing to do, something to flaunt, something.
I mean, if you've got the kind of dough that they got, like, what
Dude,
else you got, man?
I
Like,
know. I
might as
know.
well do something like that. What's the point of having the
Golly.
kind of money?
All
You know
right.
what kind of crazy shit I would be doing?
Yeah. You mean what kind of crazy shit we would be doing with you?
Yeah, you
is
would
what you-
definitely
Right.
take me with you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Hopefully me too, motherfucker.
Yeah, we're friends now. You can come. I'm gonna need somebody to
Yeah.
fix my toilet.
Yeah, that and also I think you saved my life at Calico Base. I almost I fell off a cliff, I guess. So walking
Jesse,
through
I
the
saw
veg.
you fall face first into a desert tree. And those are not like normal trees like here in Florida
No.
where it's got a little bit of moist side to it. Maybe it's got some, it's got some water content in it. You hit this bitch, dude, and I thought splinters were going through your soul, bro. I was like, oh my gosh, dude.
Uh,
The
Hey, you
brain.
know what? It's deceiving because they're so dry. They just flake right off. Like the trees here, the bark just flakes right off. So if you run into it, you're good, baby boy. You be
Jeez.
fine. You
just
be
I've
all
had
don't
right.
slow down.
I've had a
Full
little
speed.
bush out there kick my ass, and I was like,
Yeah,
God,
the
fuck
bushes
this
are
place,
worse.
dude.
Bushes are worse than the trees. The bushes all have fucking like spears on them. They're designed so you can't fuck with them. There's pricker bushes everywhere out here.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's
Terrible.
great. Good stuff, man. It's almost like Australia without an
Oh,
ocean,
yeah.
without crocodiles.
So just going back to, the main subject of the show, there's another theory that I think that I could understand, and it kind of could just be like a deterrent away from the real shit that took place, which I believe in the very theory we've been talking about this whole time about Titanic, like with
Right.
my soul. And so,
With
but
your soul.
the other theory is the fire in the coal bunker theory. Have you guys
Oh
heard anything
yeah.
about this?
That's the same. It's the same exact. So that theory ties in with the Olympic. So
Sure.
before they even took off, right, there was a fire in the coal bunker on the
Right.
bottom of the ship, and there's pictures where supposedly you can see the char marks on the outside of the ship. So it was smoldering, right? And that theory, you can go ahead and explain the rest, but that's a good. I like that theory too. Yeah,
Well, it's based the whole theory. Well, it's not even a theory. It actually happened. But the
it
theory
actually
is
happened.
that this
Right.
happened and took place on the Titanic. We're saying it's possibly bullshit. It happened on another ship that looks just like the ship. But
Right.
the whole
Same.
the whole thing is about fire broke
Potato.
out in the coal fire room. This is the room that runs the engines. It runs the motors. It runs a lot of hydraulic machinery that needs to spin this propeller. And so the fire broke out, and it was 10 days prior to the ship's departure, like you were
Wow.
saying.
It was 10 days prior.
10 days prior, yeah.
I
So but
didn't
the
know
thing
that.
is it's not normal. It's
No, it's
normal.
common.
It's very common. Like
Yeah.
coal, we know this, Louis. Like coal and carbon and nitrogen, these gas builds up. It can self combust, and what they do to try and stop the fires that happen in these rooms is that they just start feeding the fire even more. They'll start feeding the fires even more, trying to use that coal that's combusting and get it into the furnaces. And so this kind of also relays into maybe why the ship was at full speed when it struck the iceberg. Obviously, they didn't see the iceberg. They saw it last second. Most likely, and they didn't have enough time to get out of the way. But that communication with the bunker room and the captain was all off of, I think, what do they call it? It's not Morse code, but it's kind of like, I forget what it is. It's like it's a lever system that is like supposed to be communication between both parties. And so like they can move a lever system back and forth and back, and it's like it's in a slot that means do this, or they move it back, forth, back, and it's in a slot that means no, do this, or whatever. And so maybe this can explain, why the ship was going full speed, or maybe this was just all part of the plan. But it was reported to say that the fire burnt for 7 days. And so we know that steel and rivets, and I think the ship was put together with rivets, which is basically like bolting sheets of steel together. It's not just like one big, huge piece. And, it can weaken the steel. It can, degrade
Weekend
it.
warp,
Yeah, do all kinds of stuff.
pop rivets.
Oh yeah, all that kind of stuff. And so it could be an explanation why, why the iceberg did as much damage as, was done and all that kind of stuff.
One and really important part that we kind of left out with that is that they knew the fire was burning down there.
Yeah.
And like you said, they fed it. And there's like a certain protocol that they use, but they knew about this. And it's almost like they had, this is exactly why I believe it was just an insurance scam, and I'm sure there's more to it than just that, like we're talking about there. They probably had assassins on the boat too to kill their adversaries. Sounds crazy, but when you look into the whole story, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
multiple ways out. They had plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. They had multiple different plans. And that,
I
they knew
mean,
about the fire.
if they did plan this, how long do you think it would take to plan this event? You have to really think this shit out. Like,
Sit down with me with a glass of scotch, me and another guy that are funding the whole thing. We'll sit down with a glass of scotch or some brandy.
15 minutes to plan it.
A
Another
cigar.
week to get everybody on board.
I know this
And
guy, I
then
know this guy, I know this guy, and just give them a call the next day, and we
You
got our
gotta imagine
plans.
people that rich, especially back then, already had fixers. Like they knew they were elite, but they knew the people at the bottom that made shit happen.
dude, I'm wondering if they chose to do this
100%.
option, if they chose to kill these guys on this boat, because it leaves the people that are responsible for it to, you're unable to blame them per se. You know what I'm saying? Be like, dude, what the fuck? The Astor families turn into the Rothschilds families and the JP Morgan families and all this. You motherfucker, you killed my fucking son. No, I didn't. They hit an iceberg, bro. I swear, dude, we didn't do anything.
Yep.
I promise,
Yep.
man. And it could easily, be a good.
Here's another little good story about this too. They had trouble. So there's a coal shortage in Britain at the time, and they actually had trouble finding the engine room guys, right? The guys that are going to shovel the coal into the engine. They had trouble finding coal guys. And I think the real reason they had trouble finding guys and trouble finding staff is because they knew what was going on. Like there's a lot of people and there's a lot of letters that probably were destroyed. There's a lot of people that knew that this was going to happen, and they got the word. The word got out into the street because, like Louis said, these rich people know all the little guys that make the shit happen. The guys that repaired the boat, the guys that, the guys that repaired the Olympic. The way they repaired it was they jimmy rigged it. They're great at what they're doing, but that's not the right way to repair the boat. And
they're
one of the
probably like, yo, I wouldn't work in that engine room if I were you.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
saying, I'm just saying.
Exactly. It's exactly what happened. And one of the guys that was on the boat has a letter that he wrote, and I can't remember if he died on the boat or not, but he wrote in the letter that the ship had a slight tilt on it at the dock station. And that was from the damages when the military boat hit the Olympic. That's what happened. It had this slight tilt, and this guy in his letter said, he documented that, said this boat he called it something specific, but he noted that in a letter. And documents show that the damage of the boat did that. The Olympic did that. So I'm 100%. I'm a quarter of a banana on all this. As far as an insurance scam, as far as switching the Titanic and the Olympic, it's so there's so much evidence.
Do we have any idea what they did with the supposed Olympic ship? Did they end up destroying it, or did they end up
Right.
deconstructing
The
it,
supposed
or
Olympic ship, which is actually the Titanic. That's exactly what I brought up earlier. I said to Christian, I go, where's the, I said, where's the Titanic right now? And she goes, some rich fucking trillionaire. He's got it somewhere. He's got it Noah's Ark on top of a hill on his island somewhere.
jeez? Let me see here.
There was
Yeah,
a
I mean, like
third ship. What was the third ship called?
What? There was a third ship?
Yeah, so Olympic was the class ship. It was the Olympic, the Titanic, and the
Oh shit! I didn't know there's 3 ships.
uh
See, this is the great part about this. They just get you to focus on the 2 ships, and now there's a third. I didn't know about the third ship.
hold on, I'm trying to get this. My second computer's moving super slow tonight.
Feedback.
So going back to the, guess we could talk a little bit about this. The Greek mythology. I'm reading here that it says, and again, I don't know how true this is, but it says that there's,
Britannica.
oh, that's the name of the third ship.
Yeah.
But was it like another replica of the Titanic?
So this says Titanic had 2 sister ships, the Olympic and the Britannic. They were built by the White Star Line to compete in transatlantic passenger trade. The Olympic was the first to be launched in 1911, followed by the Titanic in 1912, the Britannic 1914. Britannic was converted into a hospital ship during World War One and sank in the Aegean Sea.
Gotcha. Interesting. So looking at the whole Greek mythology, since this is what like the ships are all named after, there's first, second, and third generations. The first generation they're primordial gods. This is where I was getting at earlier. The
Okay.
second generation is the 12 Titans. The third generation is 12 Olympians and numerous minor gods. So I don't know necessarily if the first generation is even with the second generation. I just am assuming that since they're the first generation,
No, they
that
are the
they were
parents. So like the first generation, so it would have been Kronos, it would have been um Erebus, I believe, which is darkness.
Mhm.
Um then the other ones equate to like light and earth and stuff like that. I can't remember the names right now.
Gotcha.
And then I think the sun might have been one of them. I can't remember the names, but they
Gotcha.
had Helios, but I don't know. Helios might have been a secondary.
So what do you
But yeah,
think about this whole Federal Reserve theory? Do you think it's, a good idea what happened?
what do you mean
I
a good
mean
idea?
not a good
Am I
idea,
happy
but
that there's a Federal Reserve?
no, like do you think, that this is that the Titanic is what led to the Federal Reserve? Like, do you think that
I
if you if,
think that the Federal Reserve was coming regardless, and the Titanic was just the plan that worked.
yeah, for sure.
If it
Like it
hadn't,
was going to come in time.
there would
Like
have been other plans.
yeah, like the central bank was going to come in time. It's just it was accelerated since, things took place on the Titanic and everything like
Was
that.
it accelerated or did it happen exactly when it was supposed to
Right,
happen?
right. I guess I mean like accelerated, like instead of it happening in 1933, that plan succeeded and now it took place in
But
So
but
why do you
1913.
think it would happen? Why do you think it's accelerated? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is all like
Well,
just
what I'm
going to
saying,
plan.
no, well,
Even if they didn't
that's
sink
what
the
I said.
boat, I
yeah,
think
Yeah, they would have died. They would have gotten killed.
I think they're sinking the boat to get making their money back on the
well,
boat
you gotta
and the time lost.
think of the threshold though. Like the Federal Reserve was being talked about for years before it was passed, and it's always been an idea. I mean, I think it's always been an idea since the redcoats were here. I think that it's a way that, you know, Europe actually is still here running America. I think
Well,
even
is there
after the revolution that the crown is here. The crown holds power still. And if anything, it holds power over our economics, I mean, entirely.
was
You know,
there a Federal Reserve in other countries, like a type of Federal Reserve?
well,
There had to have been.
I know that there's central banks. There was just never a central bank in the United States. So
Right.
the way these central banks work is just they're all connected. It's a big kind of like,
Yeah.
I just compare it to like a pyramid scheme or a chain of command. And
Right.
I mean, there's central banks all over the world. There's a Japan central bank, Germany
hmm
central bank. There's all kinds of these countries have their central banks, and in order to get one in America, I think it had to be done in a way to where the people would accept it. You know,
So your take on this is that the tragic sinking of the Titanic, a very tragic event, intense event. You're thinking that accelerated the Federal Reserve?
I think so because I think the most wealthiest family in the world, which was the Astor family at that time, that Jacob Astor was taken out, which allowed. Think of him
Mm,
as like I said earlier,
interesting. Okay, yeah.
think of him like a Princess Diana. They have all the power, but they're not for the
Wow.
agenda.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and
so,
you said he owned 40% of the world's
yeah,
debt?
no. So like if you pretty
I'm like,
much,
what the fuck? God.
yeah. Think of him as BlackRock today, and so
And he's so I
no
like
one
how you
could do
said
it.
earlier.
Like no one
You
could
said
do.
he might be a good guy.
He
You're
might be
like he
he
might be.
might have stood for different values than the
Mm,
rest of the elites
that
that
makes sense.
that
Okay.
he knew. I
He's like
mean,
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I
sheep's
think
and wolf,
Elon's
a
got
wolf in
some.
sheep's clothing.
Yeah, I think
A
Elon's got
wolf.
some got some weird stuff going
You
on,
you
but
think Elon's a wolf in sheep's clothing?
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
But as far as
as
he's
the
seen,
hero
as
look.
far as elites go, um, he at least portrays himself as a solid human being.
He portrays that, and it's so funny. Like the same thing with Trump. It's like I'm not going to get into Trump right now, but Elon, he hasn't really done anything really. He took over Twitter, changed the name to X recently,
X Corp.
and
Yeah,
No, I'm not even talking about that. Like that's
no, I
probably
know.
one of
I'm
the
just
dumber
saying.
things
I'm
he's
just
done.
the wolf in sheep's clothing thing makes sense because it's like he hasn't. People glorify him, but he hasn't really changed the game as far as like everybody's glorifying him for free speech stuff, but he hasn't really done a lot of free
yeah.
speech stuff. He just bought a company.
Well, listen,
Is really
I
all he
think
did.
what I think us, people like, we'd like to hear what we want to hear.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so when listen, I feel like people today they can see the bullshit that might be going on, but if someone's telling them what they want to hear, they'll go, fuck that shit. Like,
Yeah,
they'll just go,
yeah.
I like what
Well,
he's saying.
my thing
Yeah,
for Elon isn't that he's doing all these things for free speech or that. I was making a comparison to what Stevie said, where he's one of the richest guys in the world. He is an elite, but he's not going
right.
along with the elite program. That
Okay,
was what
yeah.
I'm saying, like Elon.
Yeah, sure.
And you could even similarly kind of
He's verbally
I got it. It
not going
clicked.
along.
Our
right.
brains
Like
touched.
I don't care about his free
Yes.
speech shit because I
Right.
think other than like he would use Twitter before to put people on blast. Like I found that funny, but
hmm
like the fact that he bought Twitter and
Yeah.
renamed it to X, and it's like I don't give a shit about social media in general. So
Right.
Right. But it's such a huge influence. It's like the biggest influence in the world right now.
No, it definitely is, and I was just trying to make the comparison to what
Oh no,
Steven
yeah,
said
you're
about
Yeah.
Aster.
yeah. I think you're dead on with the Aster, the comparison for sure. Yeah, yeah, he's not going
I-
along with it, but or is he?
Right.
Is he?
Right.
You
Right. I
know,
know. Right.
Maybe.
Golly.
verbally his statements, because that's all Twitter is. It's just it's like just written down ideologies.
Mhm.
Right.
Your echo chamber, and I think that's you know it's tough with Elon. He's what is he? He's has Asperger's.
Does he? I don't know.
Yeah, I think he
I think
does.
so.
Yeah,
I mean,
He's
he's
high
I could see it.
functioning. High functioning.
Oh yeah, for
Right.
sure. He said he
Super.
does. He is so hard to like, cause he's so outside of the box. He's like, I don't care that you're conservative, left, right, whatever you are, but I don't. I was thinking this today, like, and I've thought it so many times. I can agree with. I hate these names, conservative and liberal and independent. It's like most people are legitimately independent. We all can pull ideologies from every echo chamber, and that makes sense, and that is smart. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
just so funny that everybody boxes themselves in. Elon Musk doesn't do that. He's not going to box himself in and call himself just a liberal.
Yeah. You know what's funny,
Which
dude?
he might. I don't know.
Some-
I wouldn't assume that he would.
Something just clicked, and it's kind of like what we're talking about, and it's from the movie Titanic. And you know how like I'm telling you, go watch the movie, dude. They will literally slide little things like they're almost subliminal in a way, but you could see it to where you're like, holy shit, like this is so psychological. I'm getting fucked up from watching this again. But so Rose, right? Rose is
Topless.
she is
In the gutter.
But so yes, she is topless in part of the movie. I think it was like 54 minutes and 37 seconds.
Is it? Wait, does it actually show her? Does it show her set?
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
Yeah,
she was my first.
I can't
crush.
comment on it right
I'm
now.
not
My
allowed
wife's
to-
watching the
I'm
show.
not allowed to.
but,
I'm not allowed to watch it. I'm not allowed to watch that. I don't even want to watch it. I'm not allowed to do that though either.
Right. So I found something interesting too. I swear, when I watch these movies, I'm paying attention, bro. I'm like listening, hearing, tasting, smelling. I'm in it, bro. And not the topless. Oh my God. All right, let me get to my point.
Give yourself a hole, bro.
Does Brittany know what kind of movies you watch?
Brittany's about to turn that corner in a second. Fuck. Listen. So Rose, right? She just got caught having a fun time with Leonardo, and they were having a party, and she left the elite ball to go have fun with all the peasants. And so the next morning, everyone's pissed at her because she's outside of her class. Like she's not doing what an elite does,
Right.
And I swear that the character that Rose was playing is that they are showing the viewer, this is my theory, where Jacob Astor was coming from, maybe. So yes, she's an elite, but she doesn't like how they function. She doesn't agree.
Wow.
She doesn't agree
wow.
with. She doesn't. I'm telling you, I'm going deep here. She doesn't agree with their philosophies, their understanding. Okay, and so Rose's mom is putting a jewelry necklace around her neck and everything, and she's telling Rose like, you're out of line. You need to do what we do as and do it for the name of the family, because it's everything. It's our legacy. It's like it's our life, and if we decide to give it away, it'll be taken away from us. And I was like, holy shit.
Oh wow,
like,
dude.
What if this is where Astor was maybe coming from? He was born into a family, where they ran the world, and he just was against certain things, which we know he was against the Federal Reserve. And so, his idea was that he has all this power, he's got the name, he's born into it, and he's going to make a difference. And it's a trend, man. Like when we see people that are, involved in these elite families that are the opposition within the family, they get whacked, bro. They get whacked. They get killed.
John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, dude. Oh my God, bro. It's coming together, bro. It's coming together. You got Princess Diana, Astor, JFK. My mind is boggling right
telling
now.
me no.
But not really.
So I'm thinking about Astor here, and your question about if I think the Titanic accelerated the Federal Reserve. To kind of bring it back a couple steps from what you were talking about. I feel like it didn't so much accelerate it, but made it so that it was no longer delayed, if that made sense. Because they have been talking about it for a while. He was the opposition. He was probably putting the kibosh on it over and over and over again. So he kept delaying it.
Right.
Versus accelerating it.
And dude,
should have played ball, buddy.
And listen, it's a banking decision at the end of the day. It's not a political decision. The Senate, they have nothing to do with it.
So we know already you said he owned a bunch of debt. He was a real estate mogul. He sounds like a bank already.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So what if his big opposition was because he didn't want to share?
Yeah, that makes sense.
He wanted
dude, that makes sense.
The central bank.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
And he was giving everybody else the finger.
You could look at it that way for sure. Absolutely. I think
He
it's
wanted
good to
to
look
hold
at it
power.
that way.
Oh, dude, that makes so much sense. That's exact. I'm blindly, willfully saying that's exactly what it is. That's 100% correct.
And maybe,
for sure.
I mean, he could use it for whatever power trip he wants to go down. If he wants to be Big Meech and run and control the whole thing and be the BlackRock of the central banking system in America, he can do that. I
wonder how they killed him on the boat.
They probably put a 1911 in his mouth. Yeah. Oh,
damn.
Ooh, knives.
1911. 1911. Wow.
Yeah, look, 1911.
That's a good point.
1912. Wow. Brand new gun. The hottest one on the block.
Oh my God.
Louis like,
damn.
Guns. Guns
are great.
I'm trying to think. I feel like
maybe it came out in 1910 and it was 19.
No, I mean no, I'm thinking because
called 1911 for a reason, Steven.
A brand new gun like that. I'm trying to think of how expensive it would be versus like a revolver that a normal person might be able to afford.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That was the first magazine-fed semi-automatic handgun, right?
It was still $1,500 back in the day.
It wasn't the first magazine-fed semi-automatic?
No, Colt had their little 1903.
Oh shit, that's right. You're right. I've seen one of those too.
The little tiny, like,
is it 380 or 3? Yeah, it's some weird caliber.
It's like 32, I think.
Yes. Yep. 32 caliber.
So like
I think you're right about that.
They existed prior to. I don't remember who was the first.
You're right. I forgot. I remember looking that up too. 1903. Jeez Louise. Yeah. So he homeboy got 1903 or 1911.
Maybe could have just been a Derringer. Just
or that.
Couple quick ones, little pocket come out of his vest pocket. Next to one side's the watch, the other side's the pocket.
Hear me out. They hired samurai to sneak on board ship. They snuck on board and cut his head off.
Damn.
With a katana.
Mm-hmm. or
Katana.
or they tied his ass to the fucking boat, to the bow.
Oh man.
Oh,
Oh,
He was doing a
damn.
fucking I'm king of the world the whole way
Yeah.
down.
maybe.
Oh,
bro,
wow.
Oh, maybe that's why Rose, bro.
Wow.
Oh my
Oh
gosh. Oh
wow.
my
They crucified his
gosh,
ass on the
bro.
boat.
Yeah.
They
Oh
sent him
man.
down, bro. And then
Which side sank first? The bow or the stern?
well, there's a theory that
I
the
think
water,
the front went down first, right?
the front went down
I
first.
don't-
Yes, the bow went
Right,
down
yeah.
first. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a theory of the watertight doorways, and there was issues with the watertight doorways and stuff. And because of the watertight doorways being all messed up how they were supposed to be watertight, that it's what caused the boat to snap or whatever. And
One side got heavy, the other side didn't.
right, because if it was the case, then the boat would have kind of stabilized to the point to where it wouldn't have sank, but it would also been
just went-
submersed. So
Yeah.
what if they did that shit, hooked him up to the front? They knew it was gonna
Wow.
snap. Listen, this was a little bit more than
Wow.
15 minutes in a bourbon. Okay, I'm telling you, they.
What if they just got wait? What if they just got creative in the meantime? They just like here's some money to the assassins.
Sure.
Do
Well, I
what
mean,
you
it took
will.
2 hours. That could have been on the fly.
Oh
They
yeah.
could've
Yeah.
been,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
For
could have
sure.
gone full cartel even. Crucified him to the prow. Fucking pull his
Wow.
pants down, cut his testicles off, put in his mouth, fucking cartel necktie.
Oh
Tongue's hanging
my
out.
God, Louis.
If you guys don't know what that is, go look it up. We can't. I don't know if we can say that.
Peruvian necktie.
Yeah. All right. So let's
Yeah.
do a bananas review here. What do we got?
Dude, I already did mine.
Let's get it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm
that's-
one bite. I'm a one bite of a
Yeah.
banana.
Me too.
This is all real. This happened.
Yeah. There's too
And,
much going on. Too
The
much.
real
lined
question
up.
is, the real question is, did it accelerate the Federal Reserve? I'll tell you what, doesn't fucking matter anymore.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Not anymore.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm game with that, man. 100%.
I'm right now imagining Aster confronting 3 assassins.
Samurai.
Yes, 3 fucking ninjas. And they're trying to get to his wife and child as well, but he's like,
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
"Get on the boat, get on the lifeboat." And she's like, "You need to come with me." And he turns to her,
Damn.
"Get on the boat." "I'm not fucking leaving."
I'm not fucking leaving. Fucking
And he's
Leonardo
standing-
DiCaprio and
Yeah,
Right.
He's standing in the narrow hallway of the ship.
wow.
Says, "Let's fucking go."
Let's go, baby.
Damn.
Let's get
Dude,
it.
we need to remake.
He
We
says,
need to
"Let's dance,
remake.
you and I."
Okay, so I got an idea. We need to remake Titanic in our version, what we're telling right now, and Jason Statham is what's his name?
Aster.
Astor.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
man.
fund it.
Jay-
Get it going.
There's
If
got to
we
be
could
more than 3
somehow-
assassins at this point though, cuz he's got to kill a few people before he dies.
Okay. No, there's
Yeah.
a whole team
There's-
of assassins,
Whole
and
team.
he fucks them up, transporter style.
Transport stuff.
We should somehow figure this out, but make it like a 15-minute short,
Oh,
Right.
dude.
Right.
and just like clip it into the original James Cameron version.
Yeah.
Dude. And then we got to play the music soundtrack. 100%.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I like it.
Fuck yeah, dude. This is great. This is a great
Yeah.
episode, guys. We did pretty good. This is good.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Got
it.
really good at the end there for sure.
I walked
The
out.
end, for sure. For sure.
I walked
100%.
out and Christian told me, she goes, I go, you liking the episode so far? And she's like, I actually am really entertained. This is really good. And she's like, I'm not
Nice.
mad at you anymore. Just do as much podcasting as you want. All right.
Nice. I like
Witnesses.
that, dude. I
Yay,
like that.
Christian.
Yeah. Shout out to Christian, yo.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, well, okay. Well, this will conclude our episode. We got episode 20 in the books. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Fuck yeah, dude. It got rowdy there at the end. I like it. It was awesome. I had a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Boom, boom, boom. So if you haven't done, please do so. Like our show, damn it, and share it with your friends.
Please.
Yep, we enjoy comments and emails. You can find us
Please.
on all social medias, and YouTube and TikTok. We're working on getting our shows on YouTube. We are held on private at this time because we just don't know how the waters are gonna roll. But
The establishment will not allow us to roam around in the YouTube waters.
right. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Peace and love. Appreciate you guys, man.
Peace and love. God bless.